So there I am, rocking this killer cosplay gig for some new game, right? Picture this. I'm decked out in this epic armor, sword in hand, feeling like a medieval superhero. The crowd's buzzing, and everything's going great until she showed up. Karen. This lady storms in with her kid, a cute little dude who's all excited about my getup. He tells me he loves the costume, and I'm thinking, cool, another fan in the making. So I do the whole photo thing, pose with the kid, make him feel like he's met a real-life warrior. All good, right? Wrong. Karen comes back, tapping on my shoulder like she's got some VIP pass to my attention. She says her precious angel blinked in the photos and we gotta redo them. Okay, fine. I play nice. Take another round of pics. The crowd's growing, but Karen's in her own world. 10 seconds later, she's back, like a mosquito that won't buzz off. This time, she's all about the perfect smile. I'm gritting my teeth, but hey, customer satisfaction, right? Another round of photos. Meanwhile, people are forming a line for their turn, and I'm feeling like a one-man selfie booth. Then the moment comes when I tell Karen, look, I gotta do my job, lady. Can't babysit your photo album all day. That's when she goes full beast mode. She smacks my prop sword like it stole her lunch money and tells me I don't have to be rude. Rude. I'm practically a cosplay saint by this point. So I go to pick up my sword, all chill, and bam, she steps on my fingers like they're grapes destined to be wine. I'm on the floor, hollering like a banshee with a stubbed toe. It's pure chaos. Karen's looking at me like I kicked her cat. But wait, the universe decides it's had enough of Karen's nonsense. As she turns away, probably to find her next victim, she trips on the hem of her overpriced, too-tight jeans and crashes to the ground. Sweet karma, right? She's writhing in pain, probably reevaluating her life choices. Meanwhile, I'm clutching my hand wondering if I've accidentally enrolled in a pro wrestling match. I managed to get up, thanks to some kind souls in the crowd who witnessed Karen's grand tumble. Turns out my finger's on fire, not in a cool superhero way. Nope, it's the unmistakable burn of a broken bone. So there I am, in the midst of this chaotic convention, nursing a broken finger thanks to Karen, who's now hobbling away like she's auditioning for a role in a soap opera. I get it. Life's tough when your sense of entitlement comes crashing down. Later, in the first aid booth, they confirm what I already know. My finger's a goner. Cast painkillers, the whole shebang. And all because I dared to have a job beyond Karen's personal photographer. But here's the silver lining. The convention staff witnessed the whole circus act. They banned Karen from the event faster than you can say cosplay catastrophe. Karma served on a silver platter. Now, you'd think I'd be mad, right? Nah, I'm sitting there, broken finger and all, thinking about the poetic justice of it all. Karen tried to break me, but the universe said, nah, not today. She's probably at home now, nursing her bruised ego and a sprained ankle, realizing that maybe, just maybe, the world doesn't revolve around her. And me, I'm getting messages from the convention organizers, fans, and even other cosplayers, all sending good vibes and wishing me a speedy recovery. Turns out people appreciate when you stand up to Karens of the world. Who knew? So, if there's a moral to this story, it's this. Don't mess with cosplayers and definitely don't mess with karma. It's got a wicked sense of humor, and sometimes it wears a suit of armor. So I work in college dorms in a sort of generic first response role. We do a bit of everything, mostly security, but also medical, fire, psyche. It's a weird and often quite tough job, but quite rewarding. These dorms are kind of like a gated community a couple miles away from the main campus. At the top of this village, there's a hub where all the staff are based. It also serves as a venue for events and has some facilities for the students, catering, gym, etc., as well as a few meeting facilities in the staff area which any department in the college can book out if they so wish. Between the staff parking spots and the back doors, there are also disabled parking spaces. Now, one day, I was coming in for my 10-hour night shift, and to my dismay, I found that all the staff parking spots were occupied, which basically never happens. But I knew that the HR department had a big problem there that afternoon, in the meeting facilities I mentioned, so I figured out what was going on. And though it's not technically against the parking policy, they are college staff after all. Usually, staff who don't actually work in the building are expected to park in the visitor parking bay, not the staff parking. So I had a problem. It was 10 minutes till the start of my shift. I'm not allowed to use the student car parks. What about the visitor parking? Well, that gets locked up overnight until after my shift ends. If I parked there, then in the morning, I'd have to go unlock the visitor parking, bring the key back, leave, and one of my day shift colleagues would have to go lock it back up. My only other option was to park down the hill. But then by the time I got there and walked back up, I'd be late for my shift and miss the handover. You see where this is going? I want to make it clear that I would never normally park in a disabled bay. It's generally a scummy thing to do. I'm disabled myself, but not in a way that entitles me to use disabled parking. However, there's a few things to note here. Nobody ever uses those bays unless we have a disabled person coming in for an event, because the back door is key card access only and there's no bell, so it's of little use to students or members of the public unless they've made a prior arrangement to be let in. There weren't any events scheduled that night, and the chances of someone disabled randomly deciding they need to park at the back of the hubby unannounced is negligible. Never mind 3 of them. Remember, there's 3 bays in total. Besides, in the middle of the night, they could just park next to it at the side of the road, because there's about as much traffic there at night as on Route 50. So, I decided I'd park in one of the disabled bays, the one farthest from the door, next to the staff spaces. Due to the long and unsociable hours, I get to take breaks liberally as long as it doesn't interfere with anything. In the extremely unlikely event that more than 2 disabled people had called in the park and accessed the building, which I'd find out about during handover, I'd just take a break right after starting, drive my car away down the hill, and walk back up. I go in, get the handover, and as expected, no one is expected to come in. I was the supervisor for that shift. Our shift patterns are rotating, and the longest in service is the supervisor. So I set up my colleagues for the shift, log on, set up the cameras the way I want them, read my emails, turn on my radio, yada yada. After a while, I get one of the guys, Phil, to cover the cameras so I can go tell a resident he's getting disciplined for vandalism. I then have one of those golden sitcom moments where I open the office door right before someone is about to knock on it. I recognize her immediately. She's the dean of facilities. We'll call her Karen. Now, we're not in the facilities section. We're in the auxiliary services section. So this lady is not my boss in any capacity. She is, however, far higher up the food chain than me, so it's this awkward situation where unless I have a great reason not to, I still have to bow down to her or I'll get called into HR for insubordination, especially since the building we're in is technically operated by the facilities section. Some more context. Karen is one of the most hated figures among low-level staff in the entire college, your classic power trip witch. You can practically see the perverse happiness in her eyes whenever she talks down to anyone on a lower salary than her, which is all the time. And she's pulled no end of downright evil stuff in her many years with the institution. So a startled Karen practically pushes me back into the office. It turns out she was attending whatever event the HR department had on in the building that afternoon, and she was one of the people parked in the staff spaces out back. Now, she doesn't have an office in the building, so by convention, she should be parking in the visitor spaces. But again, that's not technically in the policy. Anyway, she saw my car parked in the disabled bay on her way back to her car. She knows who I am. We've had numerous, always unpleasant, interactions in the past, and she saw my name on the staff sticker on my windshield. Karen, where do you get off thinking you can park in the disabled bay? Me. Well, nobody uses those. Karen. Oh, what? So you think you're above the rules just because it's you who enforces them? Me. Look, it's no big deal. I'll go move the car. Karen. Oh, no, not on college's time you don't. Me. I'll take off my break. Karen. Nope. Breaks are for relaxation. Moving your car is not relaxing. Me. Well, then what do you want me to do? Karen. I want you to issue yourself the standard $70 fine. See what I mean about the power glee? Me. Are you serious? Karen. Absolutely. You need to learn that you don't make the rules. You just enforce them. At this point, I stare at her in disbelief. Now, I have a short fuse at the best of times, and I really want to yell bloody murder at her. But I value my job, so I swallow my pride and go write myself a ticket. More context there. We're essentially subcontracted by the city to do the parking and traffic enforcement for all roads and parking on college land. So the authority behind these tickets is the city, not the college. I know if I go talk to that vandal student now, I'll just let off steam at the kid unfairly, when it already wasn't gonna be a pleasant talking to. And I know that sitting and staring at the cameras would just make me seethe, so I go restock the staff kitchen, then talk to the kid, and after that, I get back to the office. Bear in mind that Phil, my buddy who I put on the cameras, witnessed the whole thing. "Is the witch still here?" I ask. "She's just on her way out now," he says, pointing at one of the cameras, followed by, "That's weird, she's leaving through the front." Karen regularly comes here to use the gym at the end of the workday. It's free for students and staff. That's presumably what she was doing today, too, seeing as it's now been a good 45 minutes since she humiliated me. When she does that, she takes a cab home. Because she lives at the opposite end of the city and traffic is a nightmare at this time in the evening, and we all know it's a million times less awful being stuck in traffic if it isn't you who's driving. She then takes a cab back in the next morning to pick up her car and drive to the main campus. It's now that I have made a beautiful realization. I pull up the parking policy, scroll through it, and there it is, in delicious, bold lettering. It is not permissible for members of staff to leave their cars parked in a staff parking area during non-working hours. It then lists a few exceptions, mainly breaks and stuff like that, none of which apply to Karen. So I'm about to write a ticket when I have an even better idea. You see, our cameras are pretty snazzy. About 6 years ago, all the cameras that monitor the roadways were updated to plate recognition cameras by the city. So now, on top of 40 days of saved camera footage, we also have the plate log, which has, so far, been kept indefinitely and can be used to figure out when a car entered the compound and when a car left, since we only have 3 entry-exit roads. I explained my plan to Phil. He has absolutely no reservations about doing me a solid and spending time going back through the plate log system to see how many times Corinne has left her car parked here overnight. 4 hours later, and he's assembled all the dates. Over the past 4 years and however many months, weeks, and days since the plate system came online, Karen has left her car overnight on a staggering 585, yes, 585 separate occasions. So I log into the city's Fine Portal software. Yep, that's actually what it's called. You can only write tickets for ongoing momentane violations. If you spot something using auxiliary systems like cameras or what have you after the fact, you need to issue a fine by mail. I put in her office address and start entering all 585 dates, times, and copy and paste the reference to the exact part of the parking policy as well as the city statute that gives this policy the force of law, for each single one. The result is a thing of beauty, spanning 13 pages and totaling $40,950. At this point, all the guys are back in the office, so I call them round knowing they'll all enjoy this almost as much as me. When I press log and print, I'm hit with a warning I've never seen before. The fine you are about to issue exceeds $10,000. Are you sure you wish to proceed? Everyone is dumbstruck. I start laughing, then Phil, and then everyone else. It's glorious. I print it, stuff it in a windowed, prepaid city envelope, and put it in the external mail. The city doesn't allow us to use the internal mail nor hand-deliver fines. I guess it's for paper trail reasons. The cherry on top is I then get to also issue a ticket and put it under her windshield because of course she's also there that night. Of course, the next time I come into work after she receives this, she's waiting for me in the office. Karen, what the hell? Do you really think this is gonna fly? Me, with puppy dog eyes? What do you mean? Karen, the ticket, the fines? Do you really think this will fly? Me, rules are rules, Karen. Karen, you know as well as I do that that's never actually been done here. Me, well, Karen, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. Exit Karen, stage right. Now, there's more to this, some good, some bad. I'll start with the bad. Karen ended up suing. I had to go to court on my day off. The silver lining was I was theoretically there representing the city, and so I wasn't being sued personally and had the city attorney. The court ended up reducing the fine to $10,000, which was apparently the city's maximum for post facto fines issued at one time. I guess that's why the warning was there. But Karen had sued to get the fine dismissed entirely, so it was still a victory. Kinda. She also tried to take it up with HR. But the Dean of Auxiliary Services also hates her, and he stuck up for me to HR, so that went nowhere. The best thing, though? This year, I was appointed to the Auxiliary Services Policy Review Board. Last week, I managed to get the parking policy amended. It now says that if staff visit a building other than where their office is, unless they are teaching a class, they need to use visitor parking if there are fewer than 20 staff parking bays at the building, and there are empty visitor bays. So, starting in June, Karen won't be allowed to park in the staff spots at all, and ironically, it turns out I now do. In fact, make the rules.